We had a hard time finding people you know, just for like a while.
For what while?
Well, like for like all of yesterday.
All of yesterday? No, it wasn't that bad.
Well,
I
I
sent
don't
one.
know about you,
I
but I
sent
was
one
like in the
text
middle of
message.
gaming.
I sent one
And
text message.
oh yeah.
They said yes. It's
You
that
know,
easy.
just cue the intro. Hello, guys. Two Latin Brothers podcast, also known as T.L.B.P. I'm Victor,
And I'm Adrian.
and my brothers brought someone.
Yes, I have brought someone.
If you'd like to introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Hailey. Should I say how I know you?
Yeah. I mean, I guess you could. I mean, you want to give them the
I
rundown.
mean, I could just ask, how did you two meet?
But yeah, so we went to high school together. We were in the same guitar class.
Yeah, that was an interesting class for one of two reasons. One, because well, for starters, I wasn't supposed to take that class. I was supposed to take another class, but they threw me in there because I couldn't have a spare at the time. So I got thrown in there, and then on top of that, I didn't know who was in that class. I just sat at the back, and then she sat next to me, and then I'm like, oh, my new best friend.
Yeah, and actually, I sat next to you like halfway through the year, because at the start of the year, I was sitting at the front, and these guys at the back kept telling me like, sit beside us. And then one day I got to class, and my chair was gone, and the people on the other side of me moved my chair back there. So, but it worked out well.
Yeah, it did. Also, that class had like every grade in it.
Yeah.
Like from grade 12 all the way to grade 9, because it's like a beginner guitar
it's
class.
a beginner guitar
So
class.
like it's just everybody's in there, and it's like so confusing because also the other thing too is like if you're new to the school or whatever, you don't know anybody. Now you know everyone in like every grade. It was like really interesting to be in that class.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was in grade 9 at the time, and you were in like grade 11.
11.
Yeah.
I was in grade 11. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was a cool class. I think I was one of the only grade 9s too, so it was cool to meet a lot of different people.
I think there were like 3, because there was another guy too, like who sat at the front.
Mhm.
Don't remember his name right now, but I remember I used to pick on him every time we would have to do like a guitar test in front of the class.
Yeah.
And he'd be like, pick somebody. He would always make this face like, not me, so I'd pick him.
Do you still play guitar?
A little bit, but I haven't improved that much since that class.
I mean, it was a beginner guitar class.
I mean, my brother's picked up the guitar again, like not too much, but like he's picked it up again because quarantine. So.
Well, I mean, in this room alone, we have like 4 guitars at any given moment in time. So it's like
we have 5 guitars.
Well, because he plays guitar, so
1, 2, 3.
Yeah, there's like I've been trying to practice, but my strings just broke and haven't been able to get new ones. So pretty much during quarantine.
No, yeah, but yeah, that was like one of the. I don't know. There's a lot of things I remember about high school, but that's definitely like. I don't know. I enjoyed that class.
Yeah, like I do a lot of art. I used to do a lot of drama, but I was like, well, I already know how to do those, so I'll just take something totally different. And yeah, I'm glad I took that class.
I'm the complete opposite. I'm like, I know music. Let's take guitar.
Because I figured learn something new. Like, well, like like having instructions on guitar would be a lot more useful than instructions something I already know about. So.
True. Like, I mean, I wasn't that I wasn't that bold in high school. So like when I was in elementary school, I figured out music and it like clicked in my head and it was just something I was good at. Like it got to the point where when I was in grade 8, I think I was like most likely to become a musician or something like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because like people were like, this kid's so good. Like, I don't understand it. Like, what's going on? And then I was like, yeah, I just spent like 6 hours doing this yesterday. That's just it. That's all it took. 6 hours. Here we go. But the thing is that when I got to because I was in a different high school before I got to the high school we attended together. So when I switched to that high school, I didn't really know anybody. And there were like, I think like some like 8 or 9 people who had gone to elementary school with me, but I wasn't friends with those people. Like I knew of them, but I wasn't like really close with them. So then I just decided to like keep my distance. And then I had to go figure it out. And then grade 10, I was essentially learning. By grade 11, I was like, okay, people know me as the music kid. Might as well just stay in that lane.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of how it happens. So I guess I'll ask a question because you don't really know much about this person.
I mean, I could always ask like, well, she said she liked drawing.
Yeah.
So what kind of like drawings do you do?
I have no real style. I've been trying to just figure out everything. I've recently been doing digital art, so I've been like making prints and stuff to sell on Redbubble, but that's the only reason I started doing.
I recently just told my brother of that website, and
Oh,
it's
really?
just like,
Because he wants to make us merch, and I'm like,
no, like I was gonna like test a few products just to see like if it would work, like if it would sell, just test a few designs.
Yeah, because he's really set on us selling merch. Because someone wants to wear our logo on them.
I mean, I had a few people to tell me to just be like, yo, give me a hoodie, I'll wear it.
I mean, yeah, but like those are friends of yours. We just gotta like walking commercial.
Yeah, just walking commercials.
You
That's
should
what
do
we
it
need.
though. He's like, I mean, I don't make much money off of it, but it's still fun to like if someone buys it, it's still cool if someone bought something you designed.
That's
Even
fine.
if
Yeah.
only one person buys your merch you make for that, that'd still be cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of like what it was when we started this podcast.
Mhm.
We were getting like, I remember we uploaded the first episode, and within I think like 4 days, it had like 25 plays. We were
Mhm.
losing our minds. We were like, "That's it. We beat the
Yeah.
pinnacle."
Like we didn't advertise,
This
we didn't
is
say
not-
anything about it.
Yeah,
It's
we were
getting
like-
views.
So then we did the next episode, and then the same thing again, and then it kept just going up
Growing.
and up.
Yeah.
And then when we hit the 1,000 mark, we're like, now what do we do? There's like 1,000 people who bought into this, and now we're just rambling because we're stuck in quarantine and there's nothing to talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because like the formatting that we have is like we'll do one-on-one, or it's just me and him,
Mhm.
and then we'll have a guest on. So every other week there's a guest on. Because of that, it has been incredibly challenging logistically, because every other week we have to find someone, and we try not to like repeat the person over. Like we've done it. We have one of my friends, he's been on 3 times.
And one
Yeah.
of my friends, I think, has also been on 3 times or
Yeah,
4.
but like actually technically 2 times, because the third time that was like our end of the year wrap up.
Yeah.
And they're like our best friends, so we had them on again. But like there have been instances where like people will call or like text me like a day before, hey, I can't make it, or hey, I can't do it. And I'm like, okay, well, I have to record literally tomorrow and upload tomorrow. So how on earth am I gonna do this?
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be
So
really
it
hard
was-
coordinating with people like that.
Oh yeah, no. I have a friend who he said he would be on, and then the first time around someone like passed away. Then the second time, he had like an exam, and then the third time, he had tickets to, or he won tickets to a concert or something like that. He's like, dude, I have to go. I have to go. Like, I cannot go. So I was like, okay, fine. So like 3 times in a row where we scheduled and we planned, and something came up. But I mean, his Instagram story was fire that day. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
But like stuff like that, where it's like, it's like, I guess it's interesting seeing the contrast of how people live their lives and stuff. But now that we're all in quarantine and everyone's bored, everyone's
Yeah,
been
it's the
saying
same
yes.
life. We're all just sitting inside.
Well, I mean, like people have been saying like yes, but they're just like I can't at this time because like they're doing something with their family because
Yeah.
all they're doing is being home alone, right? Well, together.
Yeah, like us, it's been like, it's always funny because the amount of time we're spending with family is like, it's so challenging. And the thing too is like, I spend so much time with him now. We're almost tempted to just be recording everything we do.
Yeah, because we're
Yeah.
running out of content.
We're using up the content before we record it. So it's like, what do I?
And see, and sometimes I say something, and then it's just like you have to say that on the podcast later. I'm like, what if I forget to say it?
You're like using up all of your conversations before it starts.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's become very challenging.
It's like we see each other, and I'm just like, hey.
And I'm like, there will be times like, hey, I have to tell. I'm like, tell me on the podcast, because it's like,
Like unless of course it's like a personal thing,
Yeah.
like that's happened to us, like then I won't be like I'll tell you on the podcast because like that's like serious news.
but it's gone very challenging with that. Also because we live together, it's like, and like before, I think I'd only see you like maybe like in the morning, and that was it.
Yeah,
Because like I was
Yeah,
in
like you have
college.
nothing to say about your day, right? Like, what did you do today? You were there the whole time together.
Yeah,
So
it's super challenging.
so what did you do today? Oh, sitting beside you.
yeah.
Watching TV all day. We've been binging like crazy.
Yeah, that's my life.
Been
Yeah.
binging nonstop. So you've done a lot of traveling.
Yeah, I've
So where are the
traveled,
places
like,
you've
20
gone, as far as I know?
A lot of countries. So I've been to a lot of like Western Europe. I've been to Turkey, Israel, Japan, Singapore, Hong Kong, places in Africa. Yeah,
And
I
which-
usually go on like a trip a year at least.
See, this is the kind of life I want to live.
I just lost count there.
All right.
It's
so
like I think it's like 20 countries I've been to so far.
Wow.
But
Yeah.
yeah, hopefully I think one day I would like to go to every country in the world, but we'll see if that happens.
Wow. That's a very ambitious goal.
I wouldn't. I can't.
He's like I don't know. It's like when you get to North Korea, it's a little like
Like,
Yeah, I'll say I'm gonna save some of those countries for later. I'm hoping if I wait long enough, maybe things will improve. But
You're just like the demographic right now is
We're-
not so good.
We're all waiting for his sister to take over.
Yeah, or I'll go to every country, but some of them I can just go to for like a few hours. Just, I'll go to Korea. I'll go to North Korea for a day, come back.
Right, because they're gonna let you walk in for a day and then come back.
You can go to North Korea actually.
Of course you
You do,
can, but
courses
like
there, but-
I don't know. It's like it's one of those like
It's questionable.
yeah. It's not that it's questionable. It's more like it's like this gray area where like should I like what if I say something wrong? You know?
Well, that's what I'm afraid of, right? Like,
I just write on my papers mute.
yeah, I'm not gonna start with North Korea. I'll start with some other places.
Yeah, for sure. No, actually, when we were in high school,
Mhm.
I just remember this. I think I've told this story before on here, but there was a student who went to Thailand,
Yeah.
and their teacher told him that spitting in Thailand, like on the floor or anywhere, is like punishable, like by death, essentially, because you're
Mhm.
spitting on like holy ground or what. I can't remember what the law is. So the student was like, he went to Thailand, he had a good time, whatever, and someone saw him spit on the ground, or I think a cop saw him. He got arrested,
Wow.
and he had a phone call, and he called our teacher because he's a lawyer at the time, so he's like,
Mhm.
look. He's like, I told you, this isn't my field. you need a proper lawyer. I'm just a teacher. Also, how did you get my number?
Yeah, I was in Singapore, and their chewing gum is illegal, kind of for the same reason. They can't like spit gum out in the streets and stuff. So
Yeah.
you can't buy
Yeah, they
gum
can't chew
or
gum.
chew gum.
What
There's a
if I
lot
just-
of I'm applying to go abroad to Singapore for school next year. So I was
Oh,
reading more about their laws and everything, and one of them too, you can't be naked in your own house, which
How would
seems-
anybody know?
How do you
Like-
shower?
Yeah, that exactly. How do you
Like
change
you
your
can only be
clothes,
naked
right?
in the bathroom of your house.
It's like
I
in the
think it
center of the
sounds like
house too.
if
There's
you're in
no
front of a
windows.
window. But yeah, there's a lot of different rules there that you have to
I
follow.
remember there's an episode we have where we talk about like crazy laws like that,
Yeah.
and like and some of them like that have been around so long they've never changed. Like
Mhm.
laws have
Like forgotten laws,
like,
basically.
like laws have just essentially been forgotten. Like I remember like it's in South Carolina. I think it's in the state of South Carolina where you can't carry ice cream in your back pocket.
Yeah, like
Like-
who did that in the first place though? If that to be a law.
Yeah, and I think it's like there's another state where like if you get hit by a car and you fall on the car, you have to pay for damages.
Yeah,
But, like how does one fall like get hit by a car and fall on said car? Like how does that
the
happen?
car would have to
if
be
you like
so
roll
low.
over the hood.
I mean, it'd have to be like a car that's scraping the floor. It's like a go-kart.
Yeah.
It's like, man, you have to pay for that now.
But like stuff like that I find like I think Cuba has this really funny one where it's like your house cannot be the color of sky blue.
Really.
Like very specifically, like it can't be sky blue. And
What
like
if
there
you
were
get
like
sky blue. Like
yeah, I mean there was like this long ongoing theory that one of their rulers was like colorblind and he had
Yeah.
a hard time with sky blue. So everyone's like that's why that law came into place and it's been there for like who knows how long and it never changed.
But I mean, like, why would you want your house to be like sky blue?
I mean, what if I want my house to be sky blue? I don't have that option anymore.
You're not gonna want your house sky blue.
You don't know. What if I want to what if I live like at the top of a mountain and I want my house to like camouflage with like the sky? No, so it's not even there.
I'm not even gonna respond.
It's like it's like how people have pink houses.
I understand that
Wait, how do you understand that but not the sky blue house?
because your house would stand out more. The whole of intention of pink is to stand out.
would a blue house not stand out though? I feel like
I don't see it.
I mean, if we were like in a neighborhood and there were like all these houses, right? They're all like these like
I just think, why are you so blue, man? Like, why are you so sad all the time? Your house is sad. See, pink is all energetic and like, I'm here, but like blue is just.
well,
it's a
pink is that
sad
card that says,
color.
"Look, I'm here." I always found that interesting.
Yeah,
It's because it's like a lighter shade of red.
yeah. Because red's attractive, and then a lighter shade of red, which is pink, is more like, now I'm stating my presence.
I remember this because I've taken a lot of psychology in college, and one of my professors like, if you ever want to get the attention of somebody, just walk in with the brightest shade of red you can possibly find. You'll get their attention. That's all it takes.
Swears walks in with like a neon highlighter pink shirt,
No, and this girl.
sun blazing
No,
off.
this
of you.
this girl in our class was like, "What if the guy's colorblind though?
Yeah,
what if
that's
he
what's
can't see
brown.
red?"
my grandfather's colorblind and he has a lot of like bright red or bright green pants that he thinks are brown. So that wouldn't stand out to some people.
Wow. What is it? My when I was in grade 7, we found out that our teacher was colorblind, and
Mhm.
all by accident. This girl was wearing this like emerald green sweater,
Mhm.
and she had just bought it. She was all excited about it, and she walks into class, and he like without like just joking around, he goes, "Nice yellow sweater," and we all like turn and look at him. We're like, "He's joking, right? He knows it's green, right?" We're all like, "Sir, it's green." He's like, "No, it's yellow," and he got like really upset with us. He's like, "No, guys, guys, did you all agree to like play this prank on me? Like, guys, it's yellow," and we're all like, "No, sir, it's green," and he's like. I just then he like had like this whole moment of like realizing he's like, it's a green sweater, isn't it? And we're like, yeah. And he's like, guys, I'm colorblind. And we're all like, what?
It's just like that specific shade.
Yeah, but it was so funny because like he got so mad with us, he was like losing it.
He's like, you guys are pulling a prank on me.
Yeah, it's like it's not even April Fools. Yeah, like what is? It was great. But like going back to the traveling thing,
Mhm.
out of all the countries you've been to, which would you say was like the best
experience.
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
Sorry.
There's different countries for different reasons. I would say going to Africa was by far the best experience, but there was a lot of good things about other countries too that were very different experiences. In Africa, it was just such a different place I'd ever. Like, it was so different than anywhere else I'd been, and that was cool. Like I got to actually meet people and talk to local people there, which is a new experience. Because often when you're a tourist, you kind of I don't know, you just go to tourist sites and stuff. You don't really interact with local people, and that I think is really important. Yeah, there was a whole there were so many things that happened there too, which was way out of my comfort zone. I had dinner one night just in the middle of the savannah, surrounded by lions. Like it was the middle of the night. We wanted to see the stars, so we had people arrange for us to go eat under the stars because it was the southern hemisphere, and we'd never seen stars in the southern hemisphere before. And so we had a few people with flashlights looking out for lions while we were eating, and at one point they turned off their flashlights so it would be pitch black so we could see the stars properly. I was thinking like, there's still lions out on the hunt around us. So that was a pretty.
So you're like, I'm doing this with the safety of my own life.
Yeah, exactly. Those stars must really be worth it because that's interesting. There's just so many other experiences in other countries too. Like when I was in Israel, I think that was a really interesting place just because of all the history that's there. There is so many so much of the world is impacted by all the history of Israel. There? And yeah, I had some weird experiences there too. I had blue hair at the time because I went there when I was.
This is going already.
Yeah, so I had bright blue hair, and these people didn't realize what hair dye was, and people kept assuming my hair was naturally blue. So that had a lot of weird experiences too. People were like asking me to pray while touching my hair, and I let them, and that was.
It would have been like this. I would have. There's that one teenager who's like, "Anime's real, guys. There are girls with blue hair out there."
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Like, I couldn't explain to them that it was fake because they didn't speak English. Yeah. So just gonna let it happen.
It's like how they say that if you have really curly hair and you go to an Asian country, people will ask to touch your hair because everyone there has straight hair. Like curly hair isn't like a natural trait that they like genetically they don't possess. So when they see someone like really curly hair, it's like, yo, how did you do that?
It's like, what sorcery is this?
Yeah, going to Asia, a lot of people will take pictures of you if you're a tourist. So when I was there, especially when I was in China, people would come up to me all the time, take pictures with me because I guess they like never seen a white person, and they would hug me and take pictures. But it was even worse for other people. There was this one black girl once who was there, and people were fighting over who got to take pictures with her because she was such a like interesting sight, I guess, to see in China.
They were losing.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy.
Yeah, I think it's like one of those like it's more like it kind of plays on both sides, I guess. Like for you it's like oh, these people are so welcoming and they're so nice, but for them it's like I haven't seen someone like this besides from TV. Like I'm standing next to someone, right? Like because
it makes them feel like they're in the TV.
Well, I mean, you also got to consider that in China there's like 1 billion people, right? Like and they're all basically the same people, like not to like overgeneralize, but like they're all the same race at least. So for them to see like especially I'm sure if you would have gone like out into the countryside to some little town, you probably would have been the first white person to ever walk through that town.
Yeah, well, I think it was often tourists visiting Beijing and stuff from the more rural areas. I think in Beijing it's not that uncommon, but yeah, I think for people who live in the villages in China and stuff, this is a new thing for them. So that was really weird too. And I have friends who lived in China for periods of time where they were treated totally differently than the locals, and they felt like a celebrity almost walking around the countryside, and it's a weird experience.
That must be. All of a sudden, you're like, I'm famous. And they're like, tag me on that Insta post. And then they're like, we don't have that here. And you go, right.
Forgot.
You guys don't know what Facebook is either.
Yeah.
That's like, I think that's one of those, it must be almost kind of polarizing at the same time. It's like, who are all these people, you know, like, I mean, like, if you're really shy and like, inward of yourself, I mean, I would probably lose my mind. I'd be like, who are you? Get away from me.
Yeah, like when I travel, I think it's really cool to kind of learn about the culture and kind of immerse yourself in it a bit. But it's hard to do that when they treat you so differently. Like, even
for
if it's
sure,
a
yeah.
positive thing, but
Yeah,
it's
like-
still like
Yeah,
you don't get to connect with them.
I remember when, well, you experienced this more recently. When we go to visit my mom's family in Mexico, they most people go like, when I tell people, oh, you know, I went to Mexico, or whatever, they're like, oh, so you went like to the beach, or whatever. I'm like, no, I went to go see family there, and they go, what's that like? Because a lot of people have gone to Mexico, but they
Yeah.
don't know.
It's not like Mexico,
They don't-
Mexico. It's the resort, you know.
They only know the resort part of it. They don't know
They don't know real Mexico.
the other part of Mexico, right? Like, so it's like trying to explain like that.
Trying to
part
explain like a downtown market
is like
that's like we have markets here, but not like markets over there.
it's almost challenging
Yeah.
because it looks like chaos, but it's organized.
It's a really organized chaos.
There's people everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to explain, and most people never, like, I don't know. There are a lot of people, especially in Canada. I find that there are a lot of people who have never left Canada in their entire life.
Yeah.
I know so many people.
I've never been to very many places in Canada because I feel like it's such a big country. To go somewhere on the other side of Canada is almost the same price as going to Europe in a way. Like,
Yeah, no.
It almost feels like you're wasting.
What is it?
to
There's
go
a
to-
there's a girl who was in my program. She's from Nunavut,
yeah.
and she was telling us that it was cheaper to go to Cuba than it was to go to back home.
Well, yeah, it's
And
like
I was like,
expensive
that's-
to travel around Canada.
Yeah, I'm like, that's crazy. And she's like, well, you have to understand. She's like, it's a small plane, and there's like, it's like a 12-person plane. She's like, no one's going up there. And I'm like, wow, that's far. And she goes, yeah. So it's like crazy expensive because literally only like 12 people are on the flight. She's like, I've been on a flight before back home where there was only 4 of us. And I was like,
it feels like a private jet. At
yeah,
that
I'm
point.
like, that's crazy. Like, and she's like, yeah, so it's like crazy expensive because no one's going up there. And I'm
Yeah,
like,
that's
oh,
actually-
go.
When I was in Africa, I had to take a plane like that too, where we had to like charter a plane because it wasn't a normal tourist flight. Like, we had to take a plane just for my family and hire that plane to come get us. And there was only 4 seats in it. The pilot told my sister to move her leg because she was blocking the controls. Like, it was that small.
Oh my god.
It was such a different experience because you're not at an airport or anything. I mean, commercial flight. There's no runway. You just land in the sand. Like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
and hope for the best. There's
Yeah.
nothing.
first experience.
Yeah, I'm sure there's. Well, I mean, stuff like that is must be interesting for sure. I wonder how like especially. Oh, I mean, in Canada too, it's like we're so big. Like, well, I remember we had an aunt who was like, or I think a cousin. She was like, "Oh, guys, I'm coming to Canada. I'm coming to Vancouver. We're in Ontario. We're in southern Ontario." And we're like, "We need to explain something." She's like, "Well," I'm like, "We're closer right now, currently where we are. I could fly to you faster to where you are in Mexico than flying to Vancouver." And she's
Yeah,
like,
I had that same experience.
she's like, "Wait, what?" I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, the flight there is actually faster than to the flight to Vancouver. It's like longer because of how big Canada is.
Well, it's good. Like to get to like Vancouver's like 6 hours or something.
Yeah,
And to get to like the part of Mexico that she was in, it was like 5.
it's like 5.5 hours.
Yeah.
I have
Right.
a travel Instagram account, and so I know a lot of people on there from all over the world that travel. And whenever people come to Canada, they'll message me and be like asking me for advice. This one guy's like, "I'm going to Vancouver. Do you know any good places to get a drink in Vancouver?" I'm like, I have no idea. I've never so far from Vancouver, and like he's
It's
like,
like
we should meet up sometime. I'm there. I'm like, oh,
Yeah,
it's
you
not
have
gonna
no
happen.
idea. You have no idea.
Yeah.
It's like but like I don't know. I like we've explored like Ontario fairly well. Like we've been to like different parts of it and like especially the southern part of it.
Mm.
And I keep pushing for us to like venture out into the northern part of Ontario.
Mhm.
We've also gone a lot into Quebec as well because we're like it's like right there.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of times people don't explore like within their own like area. Like you were saying, like I don't know much about Canada, but I think you should do that. Like
I would like to.
like there are a lot of like back roads in Canada that are just like they look like out of a movie.
No, actually, recently we left town just like to go for a drive because like we can't really do anything else. So we just went for a drive and we made it to like this like little town that looked like out of a movie. It didn't even look like it was Canada at that point. We were just like, "What is this?" Like,
Yeah, it was like one of those like like when you watch like one of those like Hallmark movies and they show like the house and the street and they pan and they show like all the house. It looked like that. Like everyone had like their lawns nice, like all these like white door houses, like white picket fences. We're like, this is like out of a movie. What is going on?
There's like kids like look like playing with each other, but like from across the street, like they were like friendly and like everything. We're just like, wow. I go back to my neighborhood, everybody's grass is like semi all right, like it's cracks on the ground.
But like it's really interesting. Like you can go like even for us like a lot like I have a bunch of pictures on my Instagram of our area and like some of them I literally look like I'm in the middle of the woods. They're like, where did you take that? Where are you?
And I'm
like,
literally like 15 minutes away from downtown.
I'm like yeah, but I'm literally like 5 minutes from my house, guys. Like I'm not I'm not even like in like the middle of nowhere. They're like, that can't be like
it's the picture of the pond we uploaded to our like podcast Instagram.
Yeah,
like we got people like messaging us like, where is that? Like, that's not Canada. Did you guys leave?
Yeah, like I live like so close to downtown, and at the same time, I can walk to a farm, and I have like a creek right by my house and stuff, and like it's so weird. There's so much wildlife. I think that I would like to explore more of Canada because so much of it is just wild.
Yeah,
and there's so much to see.
Like what is it? There's a national park. I can't remember which one it is, but it's like between British Columbia and like in that area. It's like in the northern part of British Columbia. But it's so big. They say that if you go off the trail, you're likely to get lost because they say it takes 3 days to get from one end of it to the other end of it.
So you literally have to camp.
So they're like
you get through it.
So you can't like physically they're like they don't recommend you going off trail because you'll literally get lost. And then I'm like, that's terrifying.
It's a real life maze.
Yeah, I'm like, imagine like a bunch of like it's like fall, all the trail gets covered by leaves. That's it. It's over. You're lost.
Yeah, I know a lot of people in like archaeology actually learn a lot about like archaeology in Canada because there's still so many sites here that haven't even been touched. And there's still so many things to discover within Canada because it's a lot of land people just don't go to.
Oh yeah. Like we have way too much land. I mean,
it's a big country.
Yeah, I mean, but like trying to explain to people, like especially when like, because I'm still in touch with a lot of people who went to high school with us who are international students. But like when I don't know, I'll be like on a group call or something, and like one of their friends will like ask a question, like, how big really is Canada? And then their friend will be like, well, it's big. And then no, what does the Canadian have to say about it? I'm like, okay, look, picture this. In Latin America or like in Central America anyway, most countries you can cross in like a 5-hour drive.
Mm-hmm.
I can drive 5 hours and still be in the same province.
Yeah, no, like
I would traveled like
I've
like an
driven
inch
across
on the map.
Yeah, I've driven across multiple countries in Europe within a day. Like whenever I go to Europe, I do road trips. But in Canada, you can drive for days and like barely leave one province. So
like it's an actual challenge to drive across Canada.
Yeah, like the country our dad's from, it's El Salvador. Mm-hmm. And I was doing the math a while ago. I think I was like still in high school doing the math, but I found out that country fits in Quebec something like 15 times.
Wow.
Because it's so tiny. And my dad's like, well, yeah, it's like you can drive across the country in like less than 5 hours, like 4 hours, like from one end to the other. And I'm like, seriously? He's like, yeah. He's like, it's not that big. And then I'm like, it's like this little chip crumb on the map. But yeah.
I would love to live in a van one day and drive across Canada and then down the state, like through the West Coast and to Mexico. I think that'd be a cool trip. And that'd be like 6 months to drive all that.
Yeah.
You're going to need a lot of tire changes.
Oh, yeah.
You're going to eat up them tires. Like, what is it? I remember this one time we were joking around with my dad. We're like, yo, we should, like one year, we should just drive to Mexico. And my dad's like, that's insane. Like, you just fly there in like 6 hours. Like, why would we
just drive there though?
And he's like, I wouldn't want to take our car. He's like, we'd rent a car.
Yeah. Like, but because of that, he's like, but honestly, it's like, you'd have to drive there. He's like, and when you get there, just to drive around in said area, he's like, you would have to change your tires. He's like, because they would literally be worn out by the time you get there.
It'd be nice and smooth.
He's like, because of like all the miles you're putting on, like, because it's so far.
Yeah.
Excuse me, but it was like, it was so funny. We're like trying to find out like the logistics behind it, and it's like something like almost like 3 weeks driving, and then I'm like, But that's like nonstop driving, and he's like, so with stops, because we have to stop every day, right? He's like, we're looking at like over a month to travel. I'm like, how did people do this before? Like,
Yeah.
Well, you see, that would be it. Like they'd
it's-
travel to a location, they'd literally create settlements, live there for a few generations, and then another generation would decide to leave.
like I just that's like crazy.
Like they wouldn't get to travel
It's
again.
like
That was the trip.
It's like how people keep going to Florida to vacation. I'm like,
Yeah.
you know, it took us a year to get there. We were there for like the summer, and then we came back.
Yeah.
Yeah,
can't,
like I take a lot of history courses, and like seeing these trade routes and stuff. It's crazy how people used to travel so much, like just on those old ships and everything. Where like you would be gone for 3 years to
Yeah.
go
Yeah.
to a place. And...
It's crazy. I don't know. I think people back then were way more braver than we were.
I mean, like we
Yeah.
barely explored our own planet, and we're already trying to get to others.
What there's this like thing on Instagram that went really famous that was like going around. It was like viral, where it's like I was born too early to explore the Earth. No, I was born too late to explore the Earth. And I was born too early to explore space.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh.
There's no middle ground.
I was like, oh, that's so true. We're that awkward generation where there's nothing to.
Yeah, but I feel like a lot of people have taken up exploring like abandoned places. So you can kind of like rediscover areas like that.
For sure. Like there's
like lost cities that are like buried into the ground. Like the people are rediscovering.
What is it in? I think in Russia, there's like a whole city that's like it's like an underground city, and I think like I can't remember when that happened. I think it was like a really long time ago. But I was reading about it how they did like the math of like because of all the rooms and all things. And they believe that anywhere between 2,000 and 3,000 people used to live in the city underground. And I'm like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And like the entrance to it is like super like it's
Looks
not
like
like
a cave.
no, it's not even a cave. Like it's like a hole in the ground. Like you think an animal lives in there. Like you walk by, and you're like, oh, that is probably like a groundhog or like
a really
type
big
of,
groundhog.
Like, no, it's like a groundhog or like some kind of fox live in there. Like I don't right. Like it's not. It doesn't look like
an
there's
actual entrance.
Yeah, like there's just this hole in the ground, and you're like 2,000 people live down there.
It reminds me of those like T.L.B.P books. Do you have to read those as kids?
Oh, I actually no, but I did read the first one.
Like which books?
The City of Ember. You know,
there's
a
a
movie. I think you saw the movie.
Yeah. No, I know what books. I just didn't hear what you said.
Yeah, the people who... I mean, it's an interesting concept. Don't get me wrong. Very interesting concept. For those who don't know what the City of Ember is, it's about people... Well, the end of the world or the world has gone to chaos and they put like a bunch of people underground in this city for 100 years in order to like save humanity. And they're like humanity's last hope. But then they leave them like a box of instructions when the 100 years are over. But then the box gets lost over time and all this other stuff happens. And quick rundown, the box opens a couple of years after they're supposed to leave, at which point things are starting to fall apart and the city's like basically holding on by like a thread. And then these two kids find the box and it's kind of goes from there. I'm not going to spoil the ending, guys.
In the end.
Well, yeah, so it's like about this guy and this girl. I can't remember their names right now and how they help their society or how they figure out what to do when the box
like
basically there's a problem when they solve it.
Like every book there's a problem and they solve it. That's really it. But yeah, it's or you can go watch the movie. I don't know how good the movie is. It's been a minute since I've seen it. I don't remember.
Nope, just remember
I know I watched it, but no, I can't remember it right now.
It's been a minute. I was in grade 7 when I read that book.
Yeah, I was probably like around the same. I feel like everyone kind of has to read it in class.
No, I read it. I read it because so when I was in elementary school, me and the librarian, we really got along for whatever reason. I guess it's because I was a nerd. But she would always like every time she'd get like a new book would come in, she's like, "Hey, I've been saving this book for you. You should read it. I just finished reading it." And I'd be like, "Okay," and then I'd read it, and then I'd go back and I'd be like, "Yeah, it's actually really good."
Wow, so she would read the book before even.
Well, yeah, no, she would read like
before letting the students have a go at it.
There were
first.
so many books she read, and then like even when we were in high school, the librarian, me and her, we had so many conversations about books and stuff. And like, there's like, and she's like, you know, because I'm dyslexic, she's like, for someone who's dyslexic, you do a lot of reading. And then I'm like, I'm trying to overcome this problem. And she's like, but your brain's just hardwired that way. I'm like, I know, but I'm working on it.
I mean, like, you can read fast, but like, every once in a while, like, not every once in a while, you'll read words that are just messed up, and then you'll be like, wait, read that back again.
Look, it's not my fault. My brain works one way, okay? I can't control that.
No one can control that.
If I could, I would, but I can't.
I mean, I think anybody would if they could. Like,
Just flick the switch.
just be like, I want you to read this, like in the middle of class. I'm dyslexic. 20 minutes later, I'm not dyslexic right now.
Actually, my grade 8 teacher used to point it out to me all the time because we would sit in a circle. We would all have the same copy of the book, and we would read like a paragraph each, and we were allowed one skip per session. Every time it get to me, I'd skip it because like again I couldn't really read, so I'd skip it. And she goes, and then I remember one day we had this conversation. She's like, Adrian, why do you skip it every time? Like, because I don't want to trip up in front of people. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's not that I don't know how to read. It's just my brain doesn't like physically let me. And she goes, so how do you read things? I'm like, well, I just triple read everything. She goes,
Yeah.
what? I'm like,
Yeah, you just reread it over and over again, I think. It's
yeah.
what you-
I'm like, that's how I read it. Like, I'll read a sentence and I'll read again and I'll read again. She's like, why 3 times? I'm because by the third time, if I miss something the first and second time, I know I got it by the third time.
That's how
So
I
this is
read
my
too.
life.
Like
Yeah.
I can never read something out loud the first time I read it. Then I'd mess up everything. Like
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but like
language is not my thing though. Like
language isn't for a lot of people. Like, so I think it has to do with like you're more artistic, right? So
yeah, like I don't know. I feel like just speaking. Like I only speak English, but just speaking English, I feel like it was difficult for a long time.
English. Wow.
Just learning English.
And
is
I'm
hard,
and
man.
I'm over here with like 2.5 languages, struggling, questioning life. Why did I do this to myself?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because
What's your other language?
we're fluent in Spanish.
Yeah, we can say
Should
we're
I
fluent.
say that?
We're fluent in Spanish.
We're fluent in Spanish as well as English, and like I understand like a
Like,
lot
I
of
mean,
French.
we understand French, but formulating our own sentences to respond to what has just been spoken to us, we find difficult.
That's why I say 2.5 languages.
I've been
It's
trying
like
to learn French. Spanish during quarantine, but I feel like it's a lot more easy to understand people speaking Spanish than to try and like think of your own sentences yourself.
It's
Yeah.
also like it must be like also like nailing the words right, because like
The R,
the R is like the
like in
hardest one.
English, the R is like really pronounced as like R, and there's no roll of the tongue. Like
Yeah.
in Spanish, like when we say car, and in Spanish carro, like we have
Yeah.
to roll the R.
See how he just rolled his tongue? I struggle with that, and I've been speaking Spanish learn, and he's been alive. So
See, but like
Yeah.
you know what helped me with that? Trying to learn how to beatbox.
you know that's a you thing, not a me thing.
But like it's yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, no. Oftentimes when I'm talking to like people who come to Canada, or like actually when I was in college, I was doing this like placement / co-op / internship, because like everyone has a different word for it, and I have to like cover all the
for
countries.
every country that
country
listens
has-
to this, yeah.
Like everybody has something different. But I was like working at this like immigration office, sort of a settlement office actually, and one of my supervisors, she was also from a Latin American country, and she's like, so when did you get here? And I go, oh, I was born here. And she goes, what? And I go, yeah, because she saw me talking with like a client in Spanish who was from Spain. She's like, your Spanish sounds like you were like born there, like as a little kid, like you were like 5 and then they
Yeah.
brought you back. Like she's like, because it sounds that good. And then I'm like, no, I'm like, I just learned it here because my parents spoke to me in Spanish, and I
Yeah.
kind of got the gist of it like over the years. She's like, what? She's like, but it was funny because she was like wrapping her head around how I was born here and how I learned it here, because she has like 2 kids, and she's like, I can't get them to speak it at all. Like they understand it fairly well, but every now and then they'll be like, what does that mean?
Mhm.
But you know, like, but other than that, she's like, they don't speak it at all, or even write it, let alone read it. And I'm over here
Yeah.
reading and writing, and she's like, and on top of that, she's like, you're dyslexic, what? So it's like, she's like, this is like she's, I don't understand. But I'm like, I think language is one of those things that you have to tackle on very early on when you're little, because it just sinks in. Like because
It's the moment of learning.
well, yeah, but like in my you didn't have my experience. My experience was like growing up was like my mom was going to like English school at the time because
Yeah.
she didn't speak English, so I was put in
You said
daycare.
you learned Spanish first then, right?
Sort of. It's a little in the air. It's kind of both at the same time. Like
Well, it's
I
because he was placed in daycare.
was placed in daycare because my mom was in
Okay.
school. So like in daycare, I was hearing English from like all those people all the time. But then I go home and everything was in Spanish because my mom only spoke Spanish.
Yeah.
Right. So it was like this, like I was learning both of them simultaneously at the same time. And then when my brother was born, one of our cousins came to help us because, well, it was.
Well, she just really wanted to visit at the same time.
Well, I mean, the first year was kind of all hands on
Okay,
deck
yeah,
sort of
that was like
situation.
yeah.
Because like my dad had to like, he was still working, and it was like this whole thing. And then there was me and my older sister, so it was like just there's so many things going on. So our cousin came. She was here for like almost a year, or she was here for a year. But it was really funny because with her, I had to. Again, she only spoke Spanish because she was from Mexico. She didn't speak any
Yeah.
English.
He had to converse.
So like I had to like forcibly like speak to her in Spanish every time I had to say something. So it was like this constant of like trying to like, right. So like I was in school and I remember it was like I was in grade 2 or 1. No, I was in grade 1 at the time. So like in grade 1, still learning like how to read in grade 1, and then like I'd come home, everything in Spanish again, right? So it's like constantly having to.
It's to the public, it's all English, but as soon as you get home, it's all Spanish.
Yeah. It's like the other thing too is like for us, it's like when we want to make a point about something, we'll instantly change like our language will change into Spanish. Like
when we're trying to make a point to like a suggestion or something, and we really want it to be heard, we switch to Spanish, just like that.
It's like on a flip of a dime.
It also like there's just something about having an argument in Spanish that's just so much. You can explain yourselves in different ways. There's more of like variety of to say the exact same thing, which can be explained.
That's what's language. Is like it gives you like a structure to how you frame your thoughts in a way. So if you don't have the word for something, there's no way to describe what you think. And that's what's cool about like other languages, I think, because they have words that mean things that we don't have. Sometimes not direct translations of words, you know.
Yeah, like we
have hard time with that sometimes.
Oftentimes I'll be like, I want to say something in English, but then I'm like, this doesn't exist in English. Like, how do I tell you? Like, right? So it's like and I have this like funny moment where there are times where I'll be talking with people and I'll like trip up on my words because I'm like in Spanish, you have to say things fairly quickly because it's a lot more words than it is in English. But then when I'm talking in English, like it'll just keep carrying over. So I feel like I'm like racing, but then I'll get tongue tied because the word will click in my head in Spanish, but not in English. So then I'll start saying it in Spanish and then finish it in English. I'm like, what am I saying?
Yeah. See, another thing we've gotten good at like Spanglish, or is like a mixture of like English and Spanish, where we're like talking in English and talking in Spanish. We've actually had a few instances with people who like just come to Canada and like we become friends with them, and they're just like, you guys do that so well. Like I understand English and Spanish, but like what?
Well, even like we even had instances like people will come over to our house, and in our house all the time it's like basically it's a free for all. English and Spanish like are all over the place.
Like our sister's like been learning like Portuguese and stuff, so she like throws in Portuguese, but she can also speak French, so she tries to throw in French in there. And we're just like, why are you making this more difficult than it needs to be?
Right? So it's like, so when people come over, they're like, dude, I have no idea what's going on. Like half the time, like
they're like, you guys are speaking English, you guys speaking French, you guys speaking Spanish, Portuguese. Like, what is this?
Confusion all around.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting to say the least. I don't know. Language is one of those. It's one of those identifier things, I guess. Like I think for a lot of people, especially like in Canada, because most of our population immigrated here, it's one of those like you hold on to it because it's like it's kind of the only thing you have left, right, from home, right, or from wherever you're from, right. It's also like I mean, even if you come from an English speaking country, your accent in said English is what you got left, right? So like for a lot of people, I remember when you meet certain people here, like they're English or they're Spanish or whatever it is, it's always like interesting. It's like, cause as soon as someone talks, you know exactly where they're from, or you know where they came from, or you know, like it's very nice and it's an identifier. But there's also like this sense of pride that people have with it. They're like, yeah, I'm from here, you know, like this is where I'm from.
I've heard people when they learn English, will try to keep their accent, and they don't want to get rid of their accent because they want to keep the identifier, I guess, of like where they came from, right? But I think like going back to the traveling thing too, like language is such an important thing for that. And it's really cool that you guys are fluent in multiple languages because that opens up a lot more opportunities too, especially Spanish because it's all over the world.
I mean, not in Canada.
I mean,
you know how many times?
I mean, in your field, it's pretty much.
Do you know how many times I've been in an interview and they're like, "So, do you speak French?" And I go, "No, but I speak Spanish." And they give me this look like, "Okay, so." Like, actually, I had this professor once. He, when I was in college, he was like, how many of you are bilingual? And all the kids who speak, all the people who spoke French put their hand up. And he turns out, looks at me, he's like, Adrian, put your hand up and don't ever let anybody else tell you that you're not bilingual. Like he gave me like this like crazy look, and I was like, okay.
I guess I'm bilingual.
But he was like trying to like, because he had seen me speak Spanish before, but it was more of like him trying to like say, hey, don't let anyone ever tell you you're not just because you live in Canada. He's like, it's wrong for people to like do that. He's like because honestly, he's like, we have people who speak more than just 2 languages. And
It's a
then
multicultural country.
oh yeah, but I met this kid, not this kid. I met this guy who works in where did he work? I think he's from Windsor. He's like a social worker in a school board, and he was telling me that he had a big issue with like international students or students or people who just came to Canada, and they were trying to get them into the IB program because like, oh, you guys are fairly smart, you should be in the IB program. And the principal of the school said no, they can't, like they don't speak English. And his rebuttal was, you see that student over there? He goes, yeah. He's like, that student speaks 16 languages. Name one of your IB students that can do that.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no IB student in Canada that can speak 16 languages. Like, unless he's one of those kids, right? But then, like, my follow-up was like, where was he from? And he goes, oh, he was from Central Africa. And I goes, and because, like, of the conflicts, as a child, he moved around a lot. So he's like, almost every year, he lived in a different country.
Had to pick up a new language.
Well, and when I went to Africa, too, there's so many official languages in a lot of these countries because the way the African countries are divided up now is kind of how the colonies were, right? But before that, it was tribes. And the colonies were purposely divided up to where there was there were multiple tribes in each section. Yeah. And so now you have all of these different languages in every single country. So when I was in Zambia, they said it was like 40 or something languages that are recognized in Zambia. Like, you can be incredibly multilingual in Africa. There's so many languages.
Oh yeah, like it's crazy. And like even here, like the native languages or the First Nations languages, we're losing those. Like, we're genuinely losing those because people aren't learning those anymore. They're not passing them down. And I'm like, what sucks so much is the fact that we're losing that. Like this chunk of history is just like leaving us. Yeah. Or like this little piece that was left by people. I don't know. I don't like that. I don't like having that concept of something that was there, now it's not there anymore. It's like.
Yeah, I'm like, well, you can also like you can learn more globally used languages and still keep those traditional languages. Sure, yeah. Just still be preserved.
Sure. Well, like for example, in us, what is it? Because in Mexico there are also a lot of native languages. I think there's like over 200 native languages just in Mexico alone. Yeah. And some of them crossed over into Spanish, like in Mexican Spanish. So like, for example, gum, we say chicle, but other places say something else.
Gomilla.
Yeah, say gomilla, but chicle is actually a native word for gum. So like things like that crossed over. And it's also interesting that like as well as like, I don't know, Spanish has changed so much over the years because of all the conquering and non-conquering. Like even the Arabs affected Spanish because they invaded Spain in the 1500s. It's this whole thing anyway. But like, we say oil the same way the Arabics do.
So but I'm trying to learn Spanish right now, and I'm learning it with one of my friends who speaks Arabic. And sometimes like he'll try to practice his Spanish, and I won't be able to tell the difference between him speaking Arabic or Spanish. Yeah. Because some of the things he says sounds so similar in both languages, I've noticed.
Yeah, because we have the R in the throat.
Yeah.
That's something that's really similar between both the languages.
Yeah, so there's a lot of crossover. But I think it's interesting how like language is shaped based on like the events in time and like what happened. Like I was saying, right? Like in the 1500s, the Arabs influenced Spanish, and then it got to Mexico, and then again it was influenced by the natives. Mm-hmm. But the same thing occurred in every country in Latin America. It was influenced by somebody else, right? So like, especially like, what is it? Like if you speak Spanish, like, I don't know, like even between our parents, like my dad's from El Salvador, my mom's from Mexico, they have different words for fruits.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So like one word will be this fruit, and my dad be like, no, that's this fruit. And I'm like, but she says, and then he's like, no, this is this fruit. So like
we've just left it up to Google to decide.
Yeah. Like it's so bizarre, but I'm like, but it's the same language. Why are there two different? And they're like, because of like all the conquering and this and the natives and whoever was there when this happened or whoever learned it when this, like it, all of that was influenced by it. But I find that so interesting, and I'm like, I wish I could look more into this because it's like the effects of it all. I don't know. Yeah. And even now, like the way we speak Spanish, I'm like, if we teach our kids Spanish, they're gonna sound like who knows what those sound like.
Yeah. There's even a difference between Canadian English and American English because I have a dual citizenship. Like I was born in California, and there's some very different words, even just in the States. Like, and that's so like everyone in Canada lives on the border. There's not that much separating Canadians and Americans, but things like the word corner store, they don't have that in the States. They don't understand what that means.
Yeah. You guys don't have corner store?
Yeah, it's just, I guess, like a convenience store. Yeah. Because like if you ask them for the corner store, they'll think you mean the actual store on the corner.
Yeah.
You know, I just feel like I've been thrown off, guys. This is like the
How do
biggest.
you not
This
know
is like the
this?
biggest curveball ever. What?
Yeah, like
Okay.
so my dad went to American schools, and I went to Canadian schools, and there's like a difference in language even just between that, which is
Also, like the
like
candy
weird.
rockets and Smarties.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Or like color and favorite.
Yeah, the spelling.
Oh yeah. I have a
Yeah.
prof who keeps spelling it the American way, and it's so confusing for me. Like, you know, which
It's
way to
like
spell it.
actually, I remember when I was in grade, I want to say grade 9. There was
Yeah.
this. He was fairly gifted, and he wrote a letter to the school board telling them that he didn't want to have to take grade 9 and 10 English.
Mhm.
And he wrote this letter. I kid you not, I didn't understand a word of it. It's like the words are like I'm like, this is like some like, are you sure this is in English? And he's like, yeah, it's English. But like they're like really like complex words. And he gave it to the principal, and the principal asked him to explain it to him. But it was like one of those like those.
He was
ones where,
using
like,
the full complication of the
no,
lexicon.
he was using like he was using English like to prove that he didn't need to take these classes, right? And he's like, but then the principal, the guy running the school, doesn't even know what he's saying, right? So it's
Maybe
like,
he should take some classes.
it was one of those, right? But he would use words that I genuinely like would throw everybody off. And I remember he one time told me how when he was 6 years old, he read an entire collection of dictionaries.
Oh
And
wow.
like from all A, all B, all C. So he's like, so like the archive of like English in his brain is absurd. Like he can say a way to like explain something that with words you've never heard before. Like I remember this.
He is the English lexicon.
I remember this one time, like something like I think it was like dilapidated, or I think that's the word.
Dilapidated?
Yeah, where it means like falling apart. But he said that about someone's shoe because their shoe was untied, and he says your shoe looks flat. And we're like, what did you just say? We're like,
See, but if you can't get your point across, then that defeats the whole purpose of a language, right? People can't understand you.
yeah, but
Yeah.
like he always I think forever he'll feel kind of out of place because of that, right? Like he speaks English better than
It's
most
his own
people do.
English, so it's
Yeah,
like it's not
but-
words other people use.
But he doesn't. But no one can like. I mean, also it's like I think it has to do also with like
He knows an advanced version of our language.
yes, but I think it's also the fact that like his audience, right?
Yeah.
They're teenagers.
Yeah.
We're all like, you know, BRB, bro. You know, like
I thought it's like if someone spoke like Shakespearean English only
oh
and
my
had
God.
to communicate with people in modern times.
Like, when you're in high school, they give you like a dictionary basically of all the terms that you're gonna hear as you reach experience.
Where is it that they? I can't remember where that. There's a place or an island in Thailand where that's how people speak English.
Oh,
like
really?
this Shakespeare. Yeah, I can't remember who was telling me that. Where people speak in the. I think it's either Thailand or Philippines. I can't remember which one. Where people speak in the Shakespearean English.
That's
and I'm
cool.
like, that's insane. That's like, you know, that they just got stuck in time.
I have to look that up because I've studied the history of Southeast Asia for a few years, and I have to say I find it really interesting. But I haven't heard that, so I'll need to go look that up.
Someone from either Thailand or the Philippines who I met here told me that because I remember when we were talking, they were explaining to me because like they were saying, I'm like, that sound. Where's your? I'm like, because they kept saying stuff that sounded like
Art thou?
yeah, because you know, like thou. I'm like, thou, what are you saying here, right? And then like, I'm like, where didn't you learn English? They're like, oh, I grew up like this area, and I can't remember where they were from, but they said that in that area, specifically in that area, people speak like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, that's interesting. That's like so.
Only Shakespeare can invent.
Well,
new
it's like the
words.
Renaissance era, you know, back in like thou art, you know, like you know, it's great. But the point is that I don't know, we could talk about this like
Actually,
forever.
we've gone over.
Yeah, we've
our
gone
time.
our time. Let's just keep going. Let's see how long we can make it.
The longest episode ever. Let's just do it. I'm gonna go get some food.
Let's go get some snacks.
Just like comes back, just start munching. You're just gonna forget about editing the episode. It's gonna be like chewing all over.
No, okay. So we did an episode with one of his friend's girlfriends, and her twin sister was getting ready for prom at the same time. So it's like chaos in the house. She's looking for this, she's looking for that, and we're at his girlfriend's house. And we're recording in like their living room kind of thing, and the girl's mom walks in with like a platter of food. You know what his friend does? He just sits there and starts eating. So throughout the entire recording, there's some guy chewing in the background.
Oh,
So so I spent like I think like 6 hours editing out his chewing. And there's a specific spot in the episode where you can tell I couldn't fix it because you could just hear him chewing and then it goes away. Because every time I would edit out, it would distort the audio of what people were saying over him.
Yeah.
So like, forget it. I just gotta leave it like that.
Yeah,
So
that was a fun episode though.
never again are you allowed to chew on this podcast. I'm sorry.
I'm gonna go get a pack of gum.
No, no one's allowed to chew on this podcast ever
Use,
again.
like, chips or something.
Yeah, honestly, like it's insane. The amount of time I spend editing this is like it's just
Yeah.
too much. Like this, we'll finish recording this, and I'll probably have it up by 5.
Wow.
So, and you know what he does? He just shows up and talks,
Yeah. I also control our social media.
which you still don't post anything. Again, I still
Okay,
do
look, I can like start posting like in a lot, but then I'll get like addicted to posting and a lot. Like so
Spam the masses, bro. Spam the masses.
I don't want to get into that.
You know what's funny? She can go so long without posting something, and I'll get notified that she posted something.
Because it's been
Oh,
so long
really?
that she's posted.
Yeah, like it's funny. Like I have a friend who he's like, dude, you take so long between posts. He's like, I'll get like, my phone will like go off to tell me that you posted something. Then I'm like, I know I need to post more. He's like, also like he's like, your level of photography is on like something else, and because he's a photographer, and he's like, what camera do you use? I'm like, my cell phone.
I have a second Instagram account, which is just for like travel stuff.
Yeah,
so
I think I follow that one
I've
too.
just only been posting that. Oh, you
We'll
follow
put
that
it
one
in the
too?
link down below.
I'm gonna link all your stuff down below. Like the first one, the second one, whichever one.
All down below.
All down below.
Or to the left, or to the right, or above, whichever platform you're listening to. You know?
It's like somewhere in the general vicinity,
Yeah.
wherever the description goes. And in Spotify, there's the episode, and then there's like these 3 little dots, guys. So you'll keep asking me where the description of the episodes are. You got to click on the 3 little dots on the side, and then right there's a thing called description. You click on that, then the description appears.
Yeah.
Because people keep messaging me like, on Spotify, there is no description of the episode.
No, you gotta click the 3 dots.
It's like, guys, come on.
It's like we're working our butts off here, and you guys can't find a description.
No, what I love though is like people are like, when you tell them to comment, and they go, we can't comment on Spotify. And I go,
find another platform.
oh my gosh! I'm like, you can comment literally everywhere else but Spotify.
Go to Stitcher. I don't know.
Like it's really funny having this podcast because like the amount of like
well, the majority of our
Okay, look,
podcast
no.
listens to us on Spotify.
no, I know, but like the logistics of like doing this, people like, oh, that must be so fun. That must be so good. I'm like, it's honestly so stressful. It's so stressful.
It gets
Oh
really
my goodness.
stressful.
For me.
No, just finding a guest in general was stressful.
Well, I think it depends. See, like I'm lucky. I know people. I'm gonna message this person.
I mean, I know people, but they have work stuff. You
Not
know?
many people have work right now.
Well, see, he's working. I don't know where he's working. We'll ask him on the podcast. Listen in.
We'll find out.
We'll find out.
To be continued.
Dude, yeah, you'll find out.
No, I remember when we first started, pitching this to people was so hard. Like it's like, how do
you bring this up in a conversation? Hey, I have a podcast. You want to listen to it?
No, like the other thing too, it's like, hey, can I record your voice and then possibly upload it to the internet? Like for thousands of people to hear for like ever? Like are you okay with that? Like but
It's
like
okay. If you see the wrong thing, then
yeah, right.
Forever.
Like, yeah, so like I go through it, like I'll listen to it like 5 or 6 times before it goes up. Like there have been a few jokes he's made where I'm like, I can't.
Yeah, it's because like when we're doing our own like not segments, but like our own bits that like aren't like pre-scripted or anything like that. I like to like change my voice and make myself like make myself sound like a stereotypical like Latino or something, and like just changing my voice to that makes everything just sound so much better
for him.
And so much more funnier. You should see his face when he starts laughing because all of a sudden I just come at him, you know what I'm saying?
Right. So but yeah, so there's like a lot of things I have to crop out. Like, and my friend's like, you should do it like completely. You guys should have an episode where it's completely uncensored.
We should just put like, see, but sometimes I say things that not even my own age group should hear.
Are your own age group?
Yes.
You don't have an age group.
Yeah, I do.
Anyway, there was one last thing I wanted to say. I can't remember what it was now. You made me forget because you started talking about.
You're welcome.
I can't remember. I was something else I was going to ask her.
It's my job.
What was I going to ask? There was something I was going to ask you. I can't remember now.
Help him out.
Like
Remind him. I
traveling
don't know.
languages.
Oh, I was gonna ask what you're taking in school.
Oh, I'm in environmental studies and geography. So,
Really?
yeah, which is interesting because I have summer school courses right now, but I have to like go out and collect my own samples. So I've been like walking around the neighborhood with like mason jars, filling them up with dirt to go study them in my house. And also like a tray, like a cooking sheet to like spread all this dirt all over so I can like examine it and
You know
yeah,
what's interesting about this? She's
interesting
like
way to
halfway through, she's like, I sound like a crazy person.
yeah.
She's having this whole realization of like, I wonder what people are thinking. I'm just picking up dirt, taking it into my house.
Well, no, like it's just like she's saying it, and then all of a sudden she's just like,
Wait.
wait, what am I saying?
Yeah.
Literally, I'll see people like passing by, and I just have like my shovel, and just digging a hole in like random areas of my
God,
neighborhood.
when the quarantine's over, text me. I'll come dig out dirt with you.
Oh, that would be we're gonna talk about it on the podcast when you're done.
I'll go dig out dirt with you.
I'll just show up out of nowhere, like uninvited, and I'll just be like, "Are you guys hiding a dead body?"
Yeah.
The amount of like almost every time we have somebody on, I'm like, as soon as the quarantine's over, text me. We gotta do something.
Yeah.
Because
But
it's like,
actually, I have field camps this summer too, where I'm supposed to go to like other areas of Canada to do research. And yeah, I don't know what's happening with that because I'm signed up for it. I'm about to pay for it, but like, we're not allowed leaving our houses. So I don't
you
know how
should
that's
probably
gonna
email
work.
somebody.
Yeah.
Usually the person in what is it? It's not like for us it's called the program coordinator, but I think for you guys it's like the dean of the program.
Yeah, I don't know, just I don't know.
Or the
You just
person
email
running
the
coordinator.
faculty and
Yeah.
they'll direct you to whoever you need to be.
Like
directed
I'm supposed to graduate next month,
Mhm.
but I don't know if that's happening.
Yeah.
What are you taking?
I went to college.
Mhm.
I took many things, and then I kind of stopped taking things, and then I went soul searching, and then I became a social worker.
Okay, cool.
Well, a social service worker. And
Because
I
he has to
finished.
service the people.
I gotta leave me alone. But the other day we were talking, and he's like, "So you're just a psychologist?" I'm like, "I'm not a psychologist."
So you're just a psychologist.
I'm like, "I help people with their problems," and he's like, "So you're a psychologist?" I'm like, "No, a psychologist tells you how you better yourself. I tell you how to do it and how to fix it."
Yeah, you're bettering them.
Just
Psychologist.
leave me alone. I'm not a psychologist.
That's a psychologist.
Anyway.
A psychologist could choose to do that.
I'm not certified to be a psychologist. Anyway,
So
But-
psychologist. Just uncertified. An uncertified psychologist.
stop.
You're adding more to your title
Just stop.
without even trying.
Just stop. You're making me sound like you're demeaning my field. Stop. But yeah, cool. So how did you come down? Like how did because you were saying how you're very artsy and stuff. So, like I figured like a general arts type of thing, but now it's like how did you conclude in that?
Well, I liked science and I liked art, and I did apply originally to go to university for visual arts or for like biological archaeology because I think like finding fossils and bones and stuff is kind of cool, and just holding prehistoric creatures.
I think she saw one too many Indiana Jones movies, bro.
So I thought, visual art is something that obviously suits me pretty well. But I figured I could just do art anytime. Like as long as I keep doing it in my free time, I'm just gonna keep getting better, and I can do art whenever. But eventually, I'm gonna forget the math and science I learned in school. So I figured might as well go into that first. Keep doing art on the side, and that's something I can easily go back to. So I still plan on probably doing something within art one day, but I think it's just a lot easier to jump into that halfway through my life than it would be to go into science. So, and plus I get to travel a lot through geography. I mean, when I go to Singapore, or hopefully I'll be going, who knows with the pandemic, but I can study like tropical climates there, which would be really cool. Here in Canada, a lot of it's like permafrost. One of my profs was like part of the Permafrost Society, so I can go like anywhere for my field, which is pretty cool. And the environmental studies part, that's just...
Yo, she thought this through so much. Like, I literally opened a book. I'm like, I'm gonna take that.
So yeah, so the environmental studies thing too, that was just an elective because I originally said I went for biological archaeology the first year, and then I took environmental studies as an elective, and I liked that so much more just because I guess the program at my school, it didn't really fit what I wanted to do. It was a lot more of the social aspect than the actual science aspect of archaeology. And in geography, I found a lot of that too. I've been able to do like land surveys to find archaeological sites. I've been learning about like the different layers of soil and how you can date artifacts. So I'm still kind of doing that too.
She's making me. She's like pitching this to me. I'm almost convinced I should take this.
That's it. I'm set. Just joking.
You
Well,
still
yeah,
gotta
like, so,
pick these
yeah,
gotta
and
I
take.
one
still gotta
option
pick
for
what I
me
gotta
in
do.
environmental studies is to be an environmental lawyer, but then I'm stuck in Canada, right? Because you learn law only for one country, so that's why like I need a job where I can just go anywhere.
Well, I think
Especially if I'm gonna go to every country in the world, right?
I mean, if you get a job in the UN,
Yeah.
right? Like that's the what is it? I met someone who she's a lawyer for the UN, and she does like she was telling me how oftentimes because she's from Canada, she's like oftentimes people like question like like your abilities of law. She's like, but they forget that like I was a lawyer in Canada for like 6 years, and then after that she's like she worked for this company that does a lot of international stuff. She said I got international law down. Then after that, she's like, I went and I got hired on by the UN, and the UN, she's like, they also make you learn all this stuff about international law, and it's like she's like it's so like you go back to school like who knows how many times. She's like, but by the end of it, she's like, you're there. She's like, and it's oftentimes like, but when you tell people you're from Canada or your basis is Canadian law and like Canadian law isn't exactly the same, she's like, no, international law.
Yeah.
She's like, it's always like this weird time, but everybody gets the same thing because they learn law wherever they're from. So
Mhm.
she's like, so it's oftentimes she's like, we're like all trying to justify international law over our own like laws from our own. She's like, so it's like a lot of conflict all the time.
Yeah, because there's only so much you can do without international law, or it's kind of limiting. Limits.
Yeah.
Although at least we have the benefit of like, being part of the Commonwealth. That seems to have some advantage. Like
Yeah.
so, my profs are from other countries and are still able to work here just because they're part of the whole Commonwealth system.
Yeah, that's good. All right. Do you think we should wrap up?
Sure. Okay, guys, this has been Two Latin Brothers podcast. Everything that we've talked about is obviously gonna be here. We're gonna link everything in the description, all her info. We'll make a story, to go follow her and listen to this episode. Yeah, DM us. We still need more content. Ask us a question if you want our opinion on something. Let us know if you want her back.
There's like a million things you can like. What
You're gonna start a whole other conversation, so we're just gonna end it here,
No, I was
guys.
just gonna say
We'll catch you guys on the next one. Bye.
no, every time.
Really? You're gonna bring it back?
Yeah, I'm
like
gonna
that?
bring it back because every time we tell people to ask us stuff, like they're like, ask us our opinion about something. It's like lately, all it's been is quarantine related
It's all
stuff.
quarantine. People
All
are like, "How are
quarantine.
you doing in your quarantine? What are you
Everybody wants to know what we're doing
Go
about
listen to the last episode.
we can't talk about that every single week, guys. We need different things to talk about. Like, come on.
Yeah. Yeah. So where was I? We're wrapping
Wrapping up. All right.
Yeah. So we'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.